Hola.
You tell me when I should start, okay? Yeah? Hello, dear viewers worldwide. I'd like to welcome you at ACC's Monday night stream number 34. Surviving. Oh, skipping. Maybe we should start again. Ich höre mich dann 20 Sekunden später. Hello, dear viewers. I'd like to welcome you at ACC's Monday night stream number 34, Surviving in Weimar. Well, that is what ACC is trying to do since 34 years, but how do artists from abroad survive in Weimar or work on a theme like survival in Weimar? And this is what we might find out tonight. Every year since 1993, the ACC has organized, together with the city of Weimar, an international studio program and an international group exhibition with 3 international scholarship holders per year. Now the 28th of these programs is on its way, carrying the theme The Forest for the Trees, with participating artists from Cuba, Venezuela, and the United Kingdom. At the beginning of February, Dania Gonzalez Sanabria from Cuba, from Havana, will be the first artist in residence of that 28th program, running from 2022 until 2023. But now in 2021-22, the selected and participating artists of the 27th program have been and still are Malak Yakut, who due to the corona crisis couldn't travel from Egypt to Weimar, Clara Carvajal from Madrid, who gave her artist presentation on 20 September 2021, and Tamir Ehrlich and Heimowitz, who are going to give their presentation tonight. Tamir Ehrlich and Heimowitz are the 3rd participants of the 27th International Studio Program of ACC Gallery and the city of Weimar, and its theme, Retreat, Rückzug. From the beginning of October 2021 until now January 2022, Tamir and Neu have spent almost 4 months in Weimar, have seen their first snow, hopefully, or I think so, or maybe, were celebrating Christmas and New Year's Eve, and of course lived and worked here as guests of the city of Weimar after they had been selected by an international jury of art specialists in November 2020. Let me just remind us very briefly what the theme of this program is about: retreat. In the current political, social, and economic crisis, and in times of change for less good, or perhaps even for the bad, it is hardly surprising that we feel an urge to retreat, away from the outside world and the public, away from uninhabitable or seemingly unlivable conditions, and into the private sphere, into inner worlds, perhaps into a kind of inner emigration. And I just want to add the wish which we, the initiators and organizers of that studio program, expressed in this application text, which was, may Weimar become a place of refuge and retreat where international artists can temporarily let go of the familiar in order to withdraw from everyday life into a solitude that is free from external influences and pressures. Well, we might find out tonight if Weimar became a retreat for both of them, for Heimowitz and Ehrlich. A couple of months ago, both of them said, it feels right and almost holistic to take a step back from the intense political environment of Israel and to retreat to Weimar. Of course, we discussed a lot about the Israeli-German relationship and how it influences and our perception of life in Weimar. At the moment, however, we are asking ourselves how we can connect personal and biographical intersections with the contemporary life world of the city of Weimar, whether imagined or real. Tamir Ehrlich and Neu Heimowitz live normally in Mishmar Ayalon, a small village or a moshav in the central district of Israel, which was founded in 1949 by Czechoslovakian Jewish immigrants and Holocaust survivors, nowadays with a population of 556 people, located on the old Jerusalem-Tel Aviv road, 26 kilometers from Jerusalem and just 27 kilometers from Tel Aviv. Tamir Ehrlich, born in 1994, received his MA in sculpture from the Royal College of Art in London in 2020, and Neu Heimowitz, born in 1988, received his MFA from the Bezalel Academy of Art and Design in Jerusalem in 2019. It is also in the name of the city of Weimar, its Lord Mayor Peter Kleine, the city's cultural director Julia Mier, and the head of Division of Visual Arts at the Cultural Directorate of the city of Weimar, Ulla Seeger, that I am very happy and proud to welcome Tamir Ehrlich and Neu Heimowitz to tonight's presentation. And of course, are you, dear viewers, allowed to ask questions in the comment section. So now I hand over the lecture, the talk, the presentation to Neu Heimowitz and Tamir Ehrlich, who are sitting or standing, I do not know, and drinking in the studio house, the atelier house in Karl-Hausnes-Straße 2021 in Weimar. Welcome with me, Neu Heimowitz and Tamir Ehrlich from Israel, now in Weimar.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Frank.
Hi, Frank. And we're sitting, actually.
Yeah.
Drinking?
Sitting, drinking,
everything.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It was actually a perfect introduction. I think you had it all there.
You even know everything about our moshav, so
Yes.
it's very nice. Maybe even more than we do.
Yeah, no, but actually you had a project before about this history of the moshav, so it was funny to hear about it from the perspective of being here in Weimar. And yeah, like what the thing that you said made me think about how funny is it that we came here to retreat, and the retreat element of the residency indeed happened. And you took us back to this experience of retreating and go away from the heavy political environment that we have maybe at home and obviously in Israel, which is infamous, very heavy politically environment. So it's funny to think about how this retreat environment made us to go back to our roots and to, I don't know if roots, but to our original political environment, and thinking how we can use them in order to reflect our stay here.
Yeah, I guess we can't run away from it. It's like
Yes.
if we're a little bit without it, you feel something is missing, like a bit of action, a bit of stress.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So we thought that what we're gonna do, I'll say about our stay in Weimar. I'm here, and thanks to the what's happening here? Okay, sorry. We had an amazing time here, thanks to the ACC and all the team, and we know, like, we are preparing to a show that will take part in the ACC during June, in the summer.
And we're very keen of coming back here in this summer. So
Yes,
after experiencing like a German winter and
yes,
and autumn,
true.
we really like to experience the summer.
Yes, and our like journey here was more an holistic journey. We enjoyed the environment. We tried to get things around and see how they can be part of our project. And because that was the kind of work that we did. I think we are not able yet to share a whole complete project, but we want to still share with the audience elements that are going to be part of our project, and even to share a part of a piece that will be in the final show. Maybe have some comments on it, because it's going to be the first time we're gonna show it to a German audience, and it's an audio piece in German. And so we are very curious about that, and how it's gonna, how the audience gonna, how it's gonna be for them, like the experience of listening to it. But in order to maybe explain the way we work, we thought that it will be best to start very briefly with some of our previous works that maybe can manifest the way we work, and how our project, starting from a holistic experience and thinking, into some kind of installation that combine multimedia and sculpture and etc. So we choose two works that maybe have some connection to the project that we're gonna exhibit here, that we do with our experience in Weimar. And also, it's both of the work, one of us were the lead creator of the work, but it's important to say before of it that for almost 8 years already, we are part of each other practice and work. And in the 2 years ago, we became a duo officially that work together and present as a couple. But before that, we did things separately, but we always been very involved with each other, thinking, process, making, basically everything. So, for example, the project that Noi gonna show is from his degree show that I was part of making it, and the project that I'm gonna show is from last year that I showed in a museum that Noi was part of it. And going forward with our practice, we're gonna more and more work as like present works under both of our name
As a duo.
as a duo. Yeah. So maybe you will start.
Yeah, so I will start with, just let me share the screen. So
We hope that everyone can see it now.
yeah,
It's like that.
I cannot do full screen because of the problem we have with the computer.
But we did it before.
We
Okay.
will manage.
Okay.
So, so the project I'm going to talk about is You Are Safe. It's actually my final project in Bezalel at the MFA. And later on, it went to Mani Katz Museum in Haifa, which is part of Haifa Museum. So here you see the installation view with my model, Tamir.
This is me.
And yeah, so the project is basically an installation with sculpture, VR, virtual reality, and some performance by the visitors actually who come to the exhibition. So maybe I should start where everything started, and that's with both of my parents. They work in the Israeli Air Force industry, and they are engineers who work and develop aircraft and aircraft programs. And one day my mom told me about this training program for pilots, for aircraft pilots, that they use VR, and then it simulates them a flight over the sky above the clouds, and missiles come towards them, and they need to like avoid them to get away. Yeah. And that's all she could tell me. She couldn't obviously show me the training, because everything is not allowed.
It's high secret, right?
Yeah, it's a secret for the public. It's a very close company, and so I started to imagine how can it be, what is it exactly, and also I started to learn more and more about the Israeli Air Force industry, or IAI, shortly.
The goal was basically to remake it using the information of your parents.
Yeah. So and then I decided that I want to remake it, but to do it, I need to know more about the IAI. So I started searching more, and I discovered that the biggest customer of the IAI, because they also sell weapons and aircrafts all over the world, and their biggest customer is India, actually. And it was kind of funny to me, because in Israel, there's like a way of seeing India as a spiritual place, as a place you go. A lot of Israelis after the army, they travel to India to get away, to relax, to smoke drugs, to have fun in parties, to get in spiritual enlightenment, and suddenly to hear that the biggest customer of these weapons and security and military products is India, it was very surprising. So I started researching about that and about India a bit. About my mom sent me this photo of a weapon fair they did in London,
which in a way sometimes art fairs can look like that as well. So.
Yeah, and it's really like reminded me of an art fair, and then
a temple.
Also a temple, and I went and studied a bit about temples in India and about rituals in temples, and I found a lot of connection between rituals and also a lot of connection between Israel and India. And here you can see Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, and Benjamin Netanyahu, or Bibi. He is the ex Prime Minister of Israel. We were stuck with him for like 13 years, and both of them are very, very right wing, very nationalistic, and they're both kind of using fear as a tool for controlling the people. They are the rescuer, and they're the only one we can trust against the threats outside. Which threats, we don't exactly know, but we know that there are threats all the time. And also in Israel, this is the atmosphere all the time, that there's always conflicts, always war, always something is out to get us. We need to get more weapons. That's why we're a very military state. And also in India, they starting to be more and more military, buying more weapons. Both of the countries actually got their independence by the British, in India in 47 and Israel in 48. And there's a lot of similarity between the two countries. So maybe I will show a bit of the work, like a few seconds, so you can see what's inside the VR, and then I will explain.
Now take a deep breath through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Have you seen that? Watch it again. Do not be afraid. Experience it while taking another deep breath. This is the new and improved Barak 8 missile. It is designed to defend against any type of threat, including aircraft, helicopter, and ship missiles.
Okay, so this is like a really little piece of the work, and as you see, it's like a virtual reality. You put the glasses on you, and then I try to like imagine the program that my mom told me about and like remake it as I wanted to.
Combining, obviously, the biggest change that you made was like bring into the program all the mindfulness
Exactly.
element as a part of telling the viewers about the missile, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what I did, I like took the mindfulness thing that it's a really Western thing, but we think it's somehow connected to India or to the East, but it's a really Western thing. And I combine it with the missiles, and what I try to do, actually, these missiles are missiles that Israel sold to India in like billions of dollars. And what I try to do is like make a connection between relaxation and weapon, between feeling safe and you know, military weapon and safe in the term of weapons of.
Which is a very Israeli experience, like this idea that as long as you are around weapons and you have a strong military, so you feel more safe and more relaxed and more calm with yourself. Like I remember that some people came to the show and they thought that it's a commercial, like legitimate commercial for
this missile or for the IAI.
Yeah, people came from the IAI and thought that, yeah, you actually need to take it and put it in there. Maybe it's too successful.
Yes.
Yes.
And also the viewers had a really huge part in this exhibition because the viewer is actually like a living sculpture, you know, as the other visitors could watch you put the glass on you, and you move on this mattress, and you maybe lie down or sit or going, and you know, because it's VR, it's 360 degrees. You can look everywhere.
So it's almost like yoga moments on this
it's like
arena.
Exactly, and it's like there is almost a really meditative, spiritual experience when you experience this work. And some sculpture that were there, like this Doga sculpture is actually, Doga is a goddess of war in India, and she has weapons in her arms, and I trade these weapons to aircraft from the IAI. This sculpture is taken, the image is taken from a cemetery in Israel, in a city called Ramle, where there's a lot of graves of British soldiers who fought here during the First and Second World War. And between them, there was a lot of graves, like 700 and something graves of Indian people who came and fought for the British. So this is one of the symbols I found in one of their graves. Cool. Yeah, that's it. Yes. Now maybe you can continue with talking about your project.
So I just say that I think that what is significant about this project that we're gonna take with us to this Weimar experience is the way that you combine few historical narratives from those soldiers that here we talk about it just like very quick, but in the show and with all the sculpture around and the references, it was very mix of history and culture that in some way suddenly it became a fantasy that it all worked together. And I'll continue to talk about this exhibition, Fishlal. It's another exhibition that a sound piece was in the center of the show. And here again, it started from personal observation about our close community, about our close environment, that took steps into more state political engaged way. If I'll explain it through the work, but I'll just say that this was the environment. I'll explain it, and in the center of it was this fish character that had that performed a stand-up comedy routine of daddy jokes, and the fish character was based on my father.
And it's actually ceramic sculpture.
Yeah, it's made of ceramics, and he have this pool of his own. It was full of water, and if he was on it, and just have this mic and having those jokes in loop. And I'll take you to the reference that started this project. That here you can see the building where I grew up, where I was born in Hulon, which is a city next to Tel Aviv, in a neighborhood that consider a socioeconomic peripheral area. And the thing about this neighborhood, that it used to be a very violent neighborhood, now it's more normalized and more safe, but still people there live not in a good conditions. And the law there have some, you have some, in those areas you have holes in the law, and people sometimes could do whatever they want. And I focused on a phenomenon that I saw happened in the last 10 years, when people that live in the first floors, in those floors, break the wall and conquer area for personal, for themselves. They break the wall, they make a garden, they close it with fence, and then it's just their own.
And it's a public garden.
Yes,
yeah?
it's a public garden. Those areas, as a kid, I used to play there. I used to go around all the building as a child, and now it's all closed with fence. This is a photo from Google Map. So here you can see still it's an open space, but it's not. It doesn't look like that anymore. And I used to live on that floor. So I saw from above, my mother still lived there. So I saw from above how they do all this. So here you can see a picture that I took. This size is like still public space, and this size they took over it. They put the fence, and there are chairs here, and it's now private. So it's obviously illegal. And the more complicated thing that my family is part of it, that when my mother lives in the fourth floor, my father that lives few blocks ahead, he lives in the first floor. And in the last few years, he started to be actually part of this phenomenon, when he doesn't have fence yet, and he didn't break the wall yet, but he started to put some chairs, to organize it as he like, and actually to do the same thing that his neighbors are doing and does, and also that we have a lot of criticism toward this behavior. And so I felt the personal connection, and also I saw the potential of this piece to become to talk about occupation as not only a personal thing that happened in a specific place here in the city of Hulon, but as an Israeli motif that we can think about it in more in bigger ways. So what happened, that I actually made the imaginary garden for my father. So in the museum, in the Petah Tikva museum, I don't know if I said it the show was there. So we broke this wall. It's maybe more illustration of a entrance, like broke entrance, but all was more like a fantasy painting with the environment, with the colors of the light. So I took colors from gardening lighting to use it, and in some way the gardening lighting became a lighting for a stage. So all this environment moved from a stage to a personal garden. And in the entrance before it, there was this kitchen moment that may be referred to a more domestic space that is the other part of the garden. And on it, this colorful sculpture of sushi. And I always thought about it as like the gun in the first scene, because first you see it as just a nice, colorful sculpture. And then when you meet the main character of the show, the fish, it started to become a dark humor joke about cannibalism, maybe. And it's portrayed all the show that it's actually deal with dark humor and self-humor. So here you can see all the stage with all the elements.
And the stage is also like it's built from wood, like a wood
for deck.
Yeah, a deck that you put in your garden.
Yeah, because many people in those gardens that they don't want to deal with grass, they all use like artificial grass, like you have now in the ACC, or they build it with deck. So I took those, I made this deck like a bit like waves, and it's all very, in any moment it feels like it's gonna fall and break, because those gardens, they are also criticized about doing it fast, like bringing all the things that you have, put them, take this, close it, say this is yours. And it's actually very similar to the methods that before 48, before Israel became a state, the Jewish people that came from Europe in the kibbutzim, they took over areas in Israel in this method that I don't know the name of. Yeah, in Hebrew it's called Choma and Migdal, and it means that you go to a place, you build a wall, and you build a tower, and then it's yours. And it's all based on British law. I think that been there before the state became like Israel state, and they use it to just conquer areas. So this vibe of like I just did it now was part of the show, and it deals a lot with my identity and my relationship with my father, about masculinity, and I'm being gay and being artist and being vegan, and he had like many jokes about that, and about this, about the city of Petah Tikva, where is the exhibition. It's not such a great city to have a show there, and that how successful I am as an artist, but actually not, saying it in a cynical way, and making joke about me being gay, and also some racist joke on the border, because I really wanted to bring a culture that it's not welcome in museums, but as part of this dark humor, there was a space for it. And I think it's also connected to what we're going to talk about, our work here in Weimar. And for example, here you can see a ceramic piece that it's actually some kind of a grill that for me, and I think for my father as well, it represents this like some glimpse of American dream, having your space and your own space with your own grill to barbecue, and those skeletons of fish were around.
Very masculinity. I mean,
yeah, like masculine symbol.
Yeah.
And this fence was on the other side with those. It's a bamboo fence that I with the laser I draw on it my name as a as like my last name, Elish, that it's get more in the German context, it's even work better because originally it's Elish, which means like honest person, a straight person. Also, it's funny in a way, and this work. It's about stealing and taking spaces, areas that it's not yours, and also put your name like in a graffiti. This is mine. So it all was part of it. And I would just say that the conflict was also that I have criticism toward this action, but I also understand the need. Like I remember my mother said that she went down for the first floor one time, and she saw how this family that did it, how they live, and they're like 5 kids living in a 2.5 room apartment, and they in the corridor they live in they sleep in how you say it,
like bunk beds.
Yeah, like double beds, one above the other. So it's almost like an act of breaking the walls because you need more space, because those places is places that government doesn't give enough attention, and those people live not in a good conditions. I come from this neighborhood, I know this environment, and so it's, you can also think about them also as heroes of themselves, taking what no one can give them and they can't ever ask for. So all this conflict was part of this very personal show, but also very, you can take things from there about general Israeli experience. And this is another element of the show that maybe help to put us in an environment of a garden, and also there were some elements that are part of a domestic environment. Here it's like a family photo of the fish with his family, and this like a male mermaid. It's another part of all this humor environment of the show. So that's it. And now we are about
we are here.
Yes,
we are in Weimar.
So I think it was important to us because we don't have so many physical works to show, but it was important for us to share how maybe some understanding about our practice, because our show can look very different from each other and be very different, but there is some kind of essence that deals with taking our personal experience with more general experience that we can look at and say something about it and mix it together into a space that we maybe sometimes feel more comfortable with it, but sometimes feel less comfortable with it. But once we have this space, we feel that now we can say something about something, or give a new experience about those ideas that we have, and how we see and experience the world. So maybe you want to say some things about our experience in Weimar.
So here in Weimar, in the Atelier house, we have the beautiful view of the cemetery, the beautiful cemetery of Weimar, which we absolutely love. We go there a lot. And this is us in the snow there. It was beautiful. And I think it was some kind of a thing for us to absorb the city and see what it has to bring us, see what we can learn from it, and take for it for our practice. So this is like a drawing I made from a sculpture from a grave. Sorry, yes. in the cemetery.
Yeah. So we try to really retreat with our environment and city, and the cemetery was part of it, and the city is very small, and also the COVID situation was part of it, because we've been a lot at home. I've been sick like many times. It was a thing here.
Not Corona.
Not Corona. Yes, maybe now before we go, but I hope not. So we started. I don't know if in the start we were able to say that we want to do something with the idea of survival, but the holistic vibes of survival were already part of it. Obviously, with having this history in our mind that we came about the Holocaust, and our grandparents from one of our side of the family, where it's part of their history, and we came with, do we want to do something with that? Do we want to think about it? It's something that it's always in your mind, but you, as a Jewish person coming to retreating in Germany, but you don't want to just go there immediately. And this drawing is a drawing of, it also a bit look like a grave. Maybe this is why we put it here, but it's a sketch of I don't know how to say it actually, from a TV show called Survival, where it's an Israeli TV show where there are group of people that they put there somewhere in an island, isolated island, and they need to
they actually need to survive with the really not so much food and water, and they need to have challenges and fight each other with challenges.
And every episode they vote someone out, so someone have to leave. So it's more like, it is a survivor, but it's more like a show of relationships and who is gonna survive less and who gonna vote who. So all the art elements around this show is very cultural appropriation of indigenous elements from many places in the world. It's a big mix. So here we draw just like in the sketchbook from the show. And why we did it, it's because we found ourselves watching this show that usually at home we are not so involved with it, especially with the Israeli version, that it's very trash reality TV show. But here we had a lot of time. Maybe we missed home, I don't know, and we wanted to hear some Hebrew. So we found ourselves watching this show, and in some moments it started to mix with our experience environment in our retreat moment, because it's 3 times in a week. It's crazy that people actually see it 3 times in a week.
And we found also the connection between retreating and surviving on an island. Like you can see the relationship between like just going to an island and drinking alcohol and getting tan on the beach, or
absolutely,
I don't know, getting crazy and doing everything you need to survive. So
I think till now we feel all the connection. We are still in the moment that we are waiting for this moment that it's all gonna become some kind of a project that we understand more. But we're looking for those connections between survival far from here in Israel, in Weimar, with our identity,
and waiting, I think, for a new thing to come out of it, like a new world, a fantasy, something that will come out.
Yeah. So we tried many things. Like we always saw those angels on the graves, and we went to a store. There are a few stores here that you can buy those angels to put them on the graves. And
in Weimar, on a lot of graves, you can see many of these angels.
I don't know if maybe it's in all German.
Maybe.
But I didn't see it, for example, in the UK as intense as I saw it here in the cemetery, all those angels. And we try to make, it's a bit ugly, but this chimera of candle from this angel. We don't know yet where it's gonna go, and here we put more elements from our studio. It were more like a studio experience.
I think everything we show now is more of a process of idea process things that we try to make, but it's not something that necessarily will be on the show.
Yeah, but here you can see the worker, and those elements are elements that we painted after we've been in the Bauhaus Museum, and the worker character, which was part of the many images that we saw are just stuck in our head, and then we remade it. So it is some kind of experience of taking images and taking things that we see to learn where can it go. And another character was this Nazi hunter Pikachu that we saw on a pub that we've been there, a bar that we've been there just one time, of Punky's kids. We found ourselves there. We were like very not. We wasn't like the character of this place, but we love this graffiti that we saw there, so we remade it here in the studio.
And also some drawings that we made here. This, like the left one, is a drawing of the Asia Bistro in the old city, which we added
in the center.
Yeah, in the center of the city, and which we added like a murder scene and this scene of surviving in how do you say
in flight?
Yeah, how to survive a bomb in a flight or something, and everything became very surviving connection for us.
Here, I don't have so many things to say about those characters, but again, it's like he's maybe more connected to this survivor moment. So then we understand that we want to do something that it's more like to make some kind of a sound piece, and we want to play it for you to hear. It's 20 minutes.
This is, by the way, a frame from Survival, the Israeli show.
What do you think? Should we put the sound first and then explain where it came from and exactly the references, or explain it first and
maybe we can put the sound?
Put the sound, yeah, I think so as well. Because we think about, I will just say that we think about this sound piece if we're gonna use it in a show, and I think it's gonna happen. So when viewers gonna meet it, I don't think they're gonna have some kind of a previous knowledge of where it came from, what is this sound. So I think in this lecture you already have some glimpse of what is it, but I think it will be better maybe just to listen to this. We cut 7 minutes from it. I hope it's fine to listen for 7 minutes. The whole piece is 20 minutes, 21 minutes. Let's hear it and then we'll say a few things about it.
Okay, Freunde, kommen wir zu einem anderen Thema. Sag mir, was ist heute mit dir los? Ich erinnere mich, wie du gestern so nervös und extrem warst und heute, du strahlst wie die Sonne am Himmel.
Du willst nicht wissen, warum.
Könnte es sein, liegt es an einem der Jungs? Wir schlafen in Überlebensbedingungen, anstatt dass sie im Sand schläft. Ich suchte nach Hilfe.
Was? Nachts ist mir kalt. Der Sand...
Du hast uns gesagt, wir sollen die Straße genießen. Was bedeutet das, die Straße genießen? Bevor ich hierher kam, wurde mir gesagt, versuche auch die Straße zu genießen. Also versuchte ich, die Straße zu genießen. Warum hast du schöne Frauen hierher gebracht? Es hat nichts mit mir zu tun. Es ist eine Insel der Liebe. Wir haben die Herausforderung gewonnen. Wir erreichten glücklich mit einer Plane die Insel der Liebe.
Dies ist nicht der Grund, warum schöne Frauen hierher gebracht wurden. Komm schon.
Also aus welchem Grund?
Damit wir kämpfen. Wir sind auch Krieger und alles. Wir sind nicht hierher gekommen, um dir zu dienen. Komm schon.
Sie ist übrigens nicht die einzige, die ich im Sinn habe.
Was?
Einer schläft links neben mir und eine rechts neben mir.
Was?
Wir haben einen Dreier. Ich scherze nur. Alles mit Liebe. Es ist alles natürlich. Es gibt nichts Tieferes als das, was es ist. Niemand sollte verletzt werden.
Wo wir herkommen, kann jede Berührung verletzend sein. Es ist wie ein Schuss. Nochmals, ich hasse diese Diskussion. Aber es gibt nichts zu tun. Und gestern wurden die Leute sogar sauer auf mich. Aber es existiert.
Der ethnische Dämon.
Der ethnische Dämon ist auch da, egal wie oft man springt, sogar in den Himmel.
Was nun? Genau das habe ich dir gestern gesagt.
Ich weiß nicht. Was hast du ihnen gestern erzählt? Wir hatten gestern das gleiche Gespräch. Nun, es ist kein Geheimnis. Komm schon.
Glaubst du, es existiert hier der ethnische Dämon in jedem?
Ich sage nicht.
Es existiert. Ich stelle dir eine Frage. Existiert dieser ethnische Dämon in diesem Stamm?
Existiert im Staat, Schatz. Es gibt keinen Stamm im Staat.
Verlasse jetzt den Staat. Wir sind nicht im Staat.
Aber jeder hier repräsentiert eine ganze Welt.
Jetzt. Ich rede über jetzt. Schau, was gerade mit den Mädchen passiert ist. Nur zum Beispiel.
Du entscheidest es so zu sehen.
Als ich das Casting der Mädchen sah, sagte ich, es wird hier verrückt sein. 4 Russen. Und ich weiß, dass hier Ukrainer sind. 4 Russen, 4 Marokkaner. Leute hier erinnern sich, dass ich sagte, es wird verrückt sein. Ich meine es gut. Aber es sind kulturelle Unterschiede.
Es ist so, wir sind im Jahre 2021 und du machst es russisch, marokkanisch.
Die Tatsache, dass das passiert.
Wow, der Chauvinismus feiert.
Aber wir sehen, dass es tatsächlich passiert.
Es passiert nicht aus diesen Gründen.
Aber es hat nicht immer etwas mit dem ethnischen Dämon zu tun.
Könnte meine Lautstärke sein. Aber ich liebe es an dir, um es klarzustellen. Sie hat mich gestern gefragt, was meine Ethnizität ist. Und ich sagte ihr, was? Ja, was ist das Problem daran? Zu fragen, was ist deine Ethnizität? Dieser Gedanke kommt mir nicht. Nicht so sehr, dass ich fragen würde, was der ethnische Ursprung von jemandem ist. Es zu fragen, ist das eine große Sache? Wen interessiert das? Wen interessiert die ethnische Zugehörigkeit? Niemand interessiert es, außer dir. Wir sind im Jahr 2021. Ich finde es interessant zu wissen, was die Ethnizität von anderen ist. Was meinst du mit, was ist meine Ethnizität? Was ist falsch daran?
Es ist nicht interessant, woher deine Eltern kommen und wo du denkst, dass du herkommst.
Dankeschön. Aber wenn es mich interessiert, für mich ist es interessant.
Wir sind alle Menschen. Wir sind alle Haut. Wir sind alle Blut. Wir sind alle Knochen. Es ist nicht interessant.
Was hat das damit zu tun?
Aber was ist die Verbindung?
Aber ethnische Zugehörigkeit hat eine Mentalität. Es ist, als ob du gefragt wirst, wie groß bist du? Antwortest du, was spielt das für eine Rolle, wie groß wir sind?
Aber es hat nichts damit zu tun.
Sag mir nicht, dass es nichts damit zu tun hat. Was ist das Problem, jemanden nach seiner Ethnizität zu fragen?
Ich denke, Rassismus existiert. Ich denke, es ist etwas, das ausgelöscht werden muss. Aber die Juden sind die rassistischsten, die es gibt. Das kann ich mit Sicherheit sagen. Ich glaube, das Volk Israel ist das rassistischste Volk der Welt. Ich sage dir, das wird auch in 20 Jahren noch so sein. Es stimmt. Ich stimme dir auch zu, dass es noch 10 Jahre, noch 20 Jahre, noch 2000 Jahre lang so sein wird. Ich kann nur von mir selbst aus sagen, natürlich, primitiv, ich bin zuallererst. Ich habe eine innere Abneigung an eine Person, die nicht so ist wie ich, die von mehr östlicher Abstammung ist als ich. Ich gebe es zu, ich habe eine Ablehnung, als hätte ich übertreibe, ja? Im Allgemeinen sehr übertrieben. Du bist ein Rassist. Ich bin total rassistisch. Ich meine das ernst. Wow, du sagst hier einen sehr, sehr schwierigen Satz. Wenn ich jemanden sehe, der östlicher ist als ich, nicht wie ich, bin ich wirklich angewidert. Ich habe eine innere Abneigung. Warum? Wegen allem. Von der Lautstärke der Sprache über die Gesprächsthemen bis hin zur Musik, die wir hören und wie unterschiedlich sie ist. Alles ist anders. Du bringst uns zurück. Aber ich fühle mich, als wäre ich primitiv. Und ich fühle mich, als wäre jeder primitiv und versuche nur Masken fortschrittlicher Menschen aufzusetzen. Ich bin im Theater. Ich bin wie, ist mir egal. Aber du bist nichts und du bist egoistisch und wahnsinnig und menschenfeindlich wie alle anderen. Wir sind wie jeder Affe, der auf 2 geht. Du brauchst dich nicht zu verschönern. Nein, er ist nicht 100%ig anwesend. Machen wir uns mit unserer hässlichen Natur vertraut und versuchen wir, sie von Grund auf zu reparieren. Lasst uns die Realität nicht idealisieren und gleichzeitig eine M16 schussbereit halten. Aus der Luke, aus dem Fenster. Nein, ich schüttle es ab. Ich schüttle es ab. Ich schüttle es ab. Das ist genau das Problem. Und hier haben wir eine Verantwortung. Und ich sage dir und zu dir, wir haben eine Verantwortung, dass sich diese Sache nicht so weit verschlechtert. Meine Frau, und ich sage es nicht noch einmal, und ich weiß, es ist kein Beispiel für irgendetwas, aber es ist nur, um dir zu beweisen, dass es Quatsch ist, was du gesagt hast. Bro, Quatsch. Ich sage es dir.
Ich möchte auch noch sagen,
Entschuldigung, warte. Meine Frau, ihre Mutter ist 90. Sie lebt seit 10 Jahren mit mir im Haus, mit all der östlichen Musik und diesem Lebensstil und all dem. Und ich habe es geliebt und ich habe es gelernt und meine Kinder stillen davon und sie lieben es. Es erfordert Bildung. Es erfordert Bildung für die Liebe. Nein, ich will mich...
That's it. Yes. Okay. So, yeah, it was weird. So, wait. First, we need to say to Emilia from the ACC big thanks because she helped us to translate it. And then we use, I don't, can you? And then we use some other people that professionally read things to read it.
Yeah, we connected to some actors and we gave them to read it.
Yeah. So I'll try to. It is a bit complicated what we said and what we made and the reasons for it. It's also another complicated thing to explain, but I'll try to explain it simply because what we did, we took a conversation, which is actually a fight, an argument between 20 people. Everyone tried to say
Men and women.
Men and women. Yes, you can see this is the moment. It was on the prime time of Israeli TV, and they fight about ideas of ethnicity, difference between the genders, race, and it's all around this idea of survival and alliances and who's with who's and why and what are the reasons that people get to be together in groups or not. And for us, watching it here was like a crazy moment because we saw this spectacle in primetime TV when people actually take a conversation that it's used to be an academic conversation and went through some changes in Israel. And for us, it was the moment that we saw it like blow up on the TV. And you know, a lot of artists also deals with those issues in Israel, and sometimes we even have some criticize on the way that they shallowed this conversation about appropriation and race and difference between people. And what is important to note is that the background of it, of most of the conversation, there are some moments that they speak about chauvinism and men and women, but the most of the conversation, the background is the difference between Jewish people that came from Arab countries and Jewish people that came from European countries. And this is a debate that's going on in Israel and became bigger and bigger in the last few years about who have the control on the culture. And it became, and in this specific moment,
It's not only about the culture, it's also economic, about jobs, everything.
Yeah. And what was amazing in this specific moment that you could feel, and if you listen to all these 20 minutes, you see that everyone have their own reasons. Everyone have sometimes good reason and good history. All people there use history as a tool to say that I am right, I am okay. Things, people did things to me and to family if in both sides. And this is the reason why the way that I'm acting right now, it's legitimate. So you see racism all over and chauvinism all over, from the boys, from the girls, from brown people, from white people. And for us, both of us, Noi and me, we are our parents like came, our mothers from Arab countries and our fathers from European countries. So we really feel this mix, and we are part of this debate in Israel, which sometimes become a very heavy thing to work with, and many artists deal with. But this in the prime time, it was a moment that you see everyone saying those sentences and those ideas that everyone knows and everyone repeat, and it's like becoming really big mix of
insulting and trash talking and without any responsibility about the conversation, about who's watching, about what they're saying. Even if like Tamir said, it started, the whole conversation was academic at the beginning, and now there's no like.
Yeah, and because it also, like in the Fish Love, the project that I show, there is a thing here that it's not only that we have criticism toward those people and that we want to make a finger and say this is them. No, it's also us. Like listening to it, I felt connected to things that been said from both sides. Like one moment, someone said that you have all the reasons to be angry about how Jewish from Arab countries were treated by white Jews, but then someone else says that it wasn't in this piece. She said about how her parents were suffered from the other side when they came to Israel. It's crazy mix. It's crazy mix, and everyone have the right reasons, and everyone being violent and racist from both sides. So we thought, what's going to happen when we're going to take conversation of 20 people and make it like just a conversation between two people,
a man and a woman.
Yeah, and in German, which is definitely different context from the original context, and we just got this piece being made 3 days ago, so we still try to understand it. But the potential of it that we see right now is to look at it as some kind of a moment of hearing voices in your head, because all the 10 men that been there, they are reduced to just one person. So sometimes it sounds like he speaks to himself with different ideas, and same thing on the women's side.
Sometimes they contradict themselves because it's like two opinions, but for one person.
Yes.
So there's a lot of.
So it became like an inner argument. So this is something that we're really interested in. And the other thing is that what's going to happen when all this conversation about race and things that we feel that, again, in academic way and in art environment, we speak about it with colleagues, even here in Weimar, but it's not necessarily part of our daily conversation, but it's still part of our identity in Germany and with the history of the place. And what's going to happen to viewers in Germany that they're going to hear this conversation, and in the same time we're curious about what's going to happen with Israelis that are going to hear this conversation with their own connotation of Germany and the German language, and then into it and then understand that it's actually a very Israeli site-specific conversation. So we are looking for ways to break it and mix it, and I hope that
we didn't drive you crazy.
Yes, I know. I hope that, like, to the exhibition, we will be more able to be more clear with ourselves what we want to do with this piece that we feel that have a lot of potential. Yes, and that it was a lot.
Yeah.
I think that it's enough.
I think it's enough. Yeah. So thank you very much.
And I hope that I hope that I hear myself. Frank?
Yeah, thanks for this very long example of what you are suggesting maybe to be part of the exhibition, which starts at the beginning of June. Well, for a moment, I thought you must make it more, more easy for German listeners to get access to this very to this conversation, which was, for me, it was kind of difficult to follow. And for a moment, I thought maybe it would be easier if one could even see the actors, not only listen to the actors. So if it would be a real visible performance, not only an audible performance. And yeah, I think it needs to be. I like the craziness. I think it would never happen on German TV. Such an ethnical discussion within the jungle camp, kind of comparable competitional entertainment series on German TV, RTL. For the moment, I have no idea how to make it more accessible than the real filmed performance.
Interesting, because we thought about it also because it's part of the culture here. Like something that we are really suffer from is to go to see English films, because many of the films is dubbed. Yes.
German. Yeah.
So we thought about this option of maybe make it dubbed to, like, because there is the Israeli temperature of people speaking, but then having those German voiceover on it, it maybe could be the solution for what you're saying. But I'm also curious to ask, you think it was, because it's the first time that someone hear it, you think it was too fast? Like too fast conversation also?
No, it wasn't too fast.
Okay.
To me, for a moment I thought actually these are automated voices. I was not so sure if this was really spoken in by real actors and actresses or by automated computer voices. So it was kind of yeah. To me, it sounded a bit computerized. So, and of course, one, as a listener, one would think, does it have a reason that you kind of automated or neutralized the language? And this is how I got the thought or got the idea that if it would be really acted and would be visible, it would be easier for me to follow. But it was not too fast. No, it was slow enough for me to listen, and I really appreciate that I had a chance to follow a maybe not very typical Israeli competition entertainment shows conversation. I would never have thought that this would exist. But one thing is clear, that you need, I do not know how, you need to elaborate and to get deeper into it. And I also appreciate that you let us participate in the creation, the process of the art piece. That's also what we always wanted at ACC, because we look at ACC not only as a presentation space, but also as a production space. So I'm very thankful for that. But I have to think of how to, because it's the first time when I was listening to it, and I think it's really interesting. It's very interesting, as you say, how to bring the world of the spectacle together with the art world, which in a way is part of the spectacle world, and yeah, how to bring politics together with entertainment, and because basically we cannot. We are all living in this let's entertain world. We cannot avoid doing so. Everybody in Germany claims that he or she has never watched The Jungle Camp, but everybody has, and everybody likes it. And Weimar is a big part of this spectacle society. If I only think of the guided tours through Weimar, or of any museum, or any digitalized form of how to bring us back into the 17th or 18th century. And these opportunities and chances are growing on a daily basis to with the digitalization, I think, to get us deeper in other worlds, in other universes. And so I think there is a big chance to mix these worlds of which we always think they are different and we have to separate them from each other, but they all grow together in the 21st century. So that's very interesting, I think. But I wouldn't have at this particular moment a proper solution how to exactly do it. What's your artistic strategy? One idea was the real performance and the real because I'm quite sure that the real conversation in Hebrew language was quite more pronounced and more with language melody, and which it sounded more like a fight. And maybe you did it on intention or on purpose to tell the German speakers, hey, speak it out as if it would be a very neutral or very non-emotional debate or conversation. I do not know.
Definitely, I think we were very we saw it, and part of taking it to a different language was the opportunity to take it and give it some fanciness that is like not part of maybe our ear, and or especially from these moments on TV when people fight with each other. Suddenly, when you hear it from two voices, very calm, very, very thinkful, and also, if I think further about the environment of a gallery, of an art show, suddenly it's become like something that's worth to talk about. And especially when you're not necessarily understand that there are so many people, it's become like a maybe poetic or crazy or maybe ideas. And so, and also this monotone way, it's like make it more flat, like taking the fight essence from it and take it to more areas that we are more comfortable, allegedly comfortable with in the gallery space and stuff like that. But the contact, the contact of, how you say it, the contact of the conversation is very heavy and very straightforward. Like, it's not trying to make games with ideas of they say we are 2021 and stuff, like very millennial way of speaking about those stuff that usually we use to think about it in much more complicated ways when we think about those ideas in galleries and stuff like that. So we see the potential of bringing those conversations in different way. Maybe the solution will be what's going on in the space, what's going on around. We also think about having those voices from above, like from two sides, like spirits, like voices in the head. It's definitely going to become more an installation than a sound piece. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, let us thanks a lot to let us be part of this process. I think actually I think we should finish the lecture or the presentation very soon. I would have had a couple of other questions, but I think it might go too far, because how long did we talk now, Ulrike?
More than 1 hour and 50 minutes already.
Yeah.
1 hour 50 minutes.
Almost.
Oh my God. Okay. So okay. So no, you don't need to be sorry. So I think we should maybe keep on going with this in a next conversation, as you suggested already, maybe shortly before or shortly after the opening of the exhibition Rückzug Retreat. So then we will talk about you as curators, as organizers of your own artist in residency programs. I would like to have mentioned how it came, who recommended to you to apply for the program, because I see this kind of connections also to Yochai Avrahami, which I think was one of the both of your professors or so, who recommended you to apply for our studio program. And I even see some similarity in how to connect private issues with your artistic questions. Like one of you thought about, my father has done this and this. The other one said, oh, my mother is working in this and this industry. So you got very inspired and actually very influenced by your parents even. And also the way you spoke about military weapons, the art fair as a presentation or temple of presentation of the weapons. It just reminded me actually quite a bit of Yochai Avrahami, who found out that the inventor of the Uzi submachine gun was invented by a Weimar-born Jewish guy who immigrated in 1934 to Palestine, and his father was a student at the Bauhaus, and later he taught design and art and graphic by himself. His name was Erich, and he Yochai tried to find out if there's any connection between design, art design, production design, and the military. So if there is a connection in the way how practical the Uzi gun is, and how aesthetical it looks, and the Bauhaus, for example, and it also had this private connotation or private relation, because he was just in his big installation show, which he, I think, presented at the Contemporary Art Museum in Tel Aviv. He is basically just talking about the family life of this Weimar-based, and later a family who later on moved to kibbutz in Israel. So there are these theme-wise and connection between private and public. I saw these kind of connections. So this is what I would also have liked to talk. And of course, it's very interesting to find out what will be the final result, artistic result of your artwork, dedicated somehow to Weimar, or at least related to Weimar. However, I think Ulrike and Emily agrees with me that we stop the conversation now. Thanks for letting us getting deeper into your artistic world, and have a nice evening. Have a nice evening, dear, hopefully worldwide audience, and yeah, see you next time in the ACC's digital stream number 35, which is being sent next week, next Monday. Okay. Thanks a lot, dear Tamir. Thanks a lot, dear Noy.
Thank
Have a good night. Okay.